is really spot on.
Well, you're absolutely right. And then you've actually touched on one of the key things. In fact, when I describe entrepreneurship leadership, the very first attributes that I talk about is about this learning, about the openness to learning. So you're true, you're correct. It's all those things that you have spoken about, you know. Let's now go to entrepreneurial leadership. This was something that, well, we started to talk about entrepreneurial leadership at about the turn of the millennium, about around year 2000. There were two individuals who suggested that, you know what, in dynamic markets, as the name suggests, are markets in which, you know what, things are always changing. There is increased uncertainty. You know, sometimes we describe those markets as VUCA markets. You may have heard those that term before, in which the market is described as volatile, uncertain, okay, all of those ones there, you know, things that are constantly changing. And really, these two people came up with this concept to say, you know what, when you have such dynamic markets in which there's increased uncertainty and competitive pressure, really, you need a new type of leader. Because when everything is going fine, you can have somebody that can just coast, somebody that is a leader and can just move with the times, because really there's nothing, you know, things are moving, there's a system, there's a process that's going well. But when you have a dynamic market, then you need a new type of leader. Now, all of us operate, at least in Nigeria. We may be operating there, but at least we also have business in Nigeria. If I wanted you to look at the Nigerian markets, how would you describe it? Is it stable? Is it, you know, again, type in the chat. What words would you use to describe this market? Or what two words, one word or two, would you use to describe this market that you're playing in? Damilola has spoken about the people. Okonedo has spoken about how, that thing is hard though. Or more, to put two legs inside water at the same time, it's not easy, you know? But what would you use to describe this market? Funny market. Legally, it's funny. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to call on you in a few minutes to describe why you call it funny. Unpredictable. Yes. Anything else? Okay, while the rest of us are still writing, legally, please. Okay, counterintuitive. Interesting. James, I will also call on you after legally. So legally, please, I would like you to just explain a bit more about why you say it is funny.
Good morning, ma.
Good morning,
everyone. It's very funny in the sense that a lot of policy every day. In terms of policy, you just be here, this policy today, then another day, another policy. So if you try to follow this one, another one has come. So it's very funny. It's not stable.
Okay, it's not stable. You know, when you say funny, but it's not a joke. It's, you know, what you have just described is not a joke. Is that it is, you know, it is uncertain because, you know, things change all the time. Yes, James, do you want to weigh in? You said counterintuitive. How so?
All right. Thank you, Ma. So, what I mean by that is, you know, there are some things that you'd expect to work. They work in other places, but when it comes to Nigeria, you just see it working otherwise. Like you just have to define your product or your business specifically for Nigeria.
Yes.
So what works in other places, you just have to create something special for Nigeria markets.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you hit on the crucial point there. Is that sometimes when we start to learn about being entrepreneurial, how to hone our skills and make them better, we believe that, you know, we can take what it is that happens in other places, we can bring it here, we can plug and play, and it will be the same. But then most times, as James has found out, there is counterintuitive, because what works in other markets, you may bring it here and it may not work, because we're talking about the peculiarities of the environment. And legally, you know, he has spoken about one of them, which is the constant policy change that affects not only small businesses, but also large businesses as well. So we find that the characteristic of the market define it as being really a VUCA environment in which it is uncertain. If it is uncertain, it means that we need to be a different type of leader. And that's what it is that we'll be talking about today. As you all know, entrepreneurship opens new opportunities and possibilities for us to create value for ourselves, and for the society. Let's not forget that. And it's something that I like to emphasize, because most times when people talk about starting up businesses, I mean, if I ask each of you your story, why did you begin a business? It could be anything. For some, it could be survival. We didn't get work, so we decided that, you know what, Omo, I can't die. Let me go and start up a business. It may be that. For others, we may come from families of entrepreneurs. Our mothers were traders, our fathers had small or large businesses, and we just sort of follow the family line. For some of us, it is that, you know what, there's that itch of, I can't work for anybody. I just have to go there and do that. Now, when we come at it from that perspective, it's true. We want to do something that can at least make us earn a living. But as time goes on, you have to think about, not even as time goes on, I actually encourage people from the beginning to think about what you are doing. Is it creating value for society? Is it creating value for societies? To use an example, an unpalatable example, you know, Yahoo boys, are they entrepreneurs? What are your thoughts? The people that do, I mean, all of us, we're Nigerians, I believe, all of us from the names, we look like Nigerians. I can't identify whether Block is a Nigerian or not, but from the other names, I can see that we're Nigerians. So when you talk about, and you know, the Yahoo boys, people that engage in scams, financial scams and things like that, are they entrepreneurs? African Startup Factory says no. That's Peter. I can see Peter. He says no. Okay. Any other contrary view? Are they creating value? Okay. Do they see opportunities? Do Yahoo boys see opportunities? They see, yes. They see opportunities now. They see the gaps, they see the loopholes of the system, yes. And we say one of the key things about entrepreneurs is that they must recognize opportunities. So they see the opportunities, they see possibilities for themselves. But are they creating value for themselves? Certainly, all of us will agree that they are not creating value for society. Are they creating value for themselves? Legally, you say yes, that they are creating value for themselves. They are making that money. They are creating value for themselves, but they are not adding any value. And they are not doing anything that benefits society. So now Yahoo boys is the extreme. But some of us, some entrepreneurs may be engaged in businesses that even though it's benefiting self, is not benefiting society. And that is something that I always encourage, to say whatever it is that you do, be sure that you are creating value for society. Okonedo believes that the Yahoo boys are creating value for society. Please, could you explain a bit more? Maybe by their spending power. It's an interesting perspective. Yes, Okonedo, please.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am.
Yes.
It was as a result of organizations that were hacked that the need for cybersecurity engineers who were ethical hackers became a demand in the market. And yes, the fraudsters that we have here in the society in Nigeria are also creating that landmark to now ensure that all of those things are, there's a demand for them. It's mitigated early enough. You have banks now trying to employ people who have skills in cybersecurity, even medical firms as well. So yes, they are in a way creating value for the society, but not necessarily like we might want to say, but I feel that's a demand for us.
An interesting perspective. I will speak about that. Yes, Mojisola agrees. Please, Mojisola, you said they are creating value for themselves. Do you agree that they are creating value for society? And then I will come to Damilola. Yes. Mojisola.
Yes, like it just brought my perspective to it. I really agree with him, because if you look at a lot of the way the value system is, okay, so there will always be need for security, because there is insecurity. So if there is peace, if we are assured of peace, then there will be no need for protection, or no need to have policemen or law enforcement agency or anything. So the way life is generally is like there is a negative, so the negative propels the positive value. So that's exactly what they are doing actually. So they find the loophole, then somebody has to provide a solution to cover that loophole. So indirectly, it's true. I agree with him.
Okay, interesting. Damilola, what's your view? I see your hand is up.
All right, so I'll come from a tech perspective.
Please.
So one of the things that over the years that I've come to understand is you create solutions to problems that exist. So first on that, everybody has spoken about security, but I also want everyone to know that these Yahoo boys are not successful out of their own finesse or out of their own skills that they've gathered over the years. So the loopholes that they've picked, I will call these people institutional Yahoo boys. Now, these are the people that are in the banking sector, that are in the financial sector, that create these loopholes. Because there's an adage that says that there's a Yoruba adage, but I'll try as much as possible to translate it. That if there's no crack on the wall, the lizard cannot gain access. So now the institution itself created an enabling environment for the Yahoo boys. So which means that now they have created extra jobs. The money that these Yahoo boys take out and bring into the system, there's a way, it goes through our financial system some way. So there is extra value to the financial markets. Now they are spending power. It might sound as if one is in support of them. Disclaimer, I'm totally not in support of it. But we have to be objective and as much as possible be pragmatic with our views on this. Now, like the Americans always say, that behind every great success, there's a greater crime. Now, America was built off the back of drug dealers and quote unquote, they call them entrepreneurs, capitalists. You understand? So many of these people, many of these vices that we so see are opportunities for us to reconstruct the social fabric, the financial fabric of our system. And in that way, it creates tons of jobs. Because, okay, I'll take my immediate younger brother. He doesn't have any business. He has never been a techie. He could not write a line of code to save his life 6 months ago. But I tell you today, he's almost done with a cybersecurity course. And I know a ton of people like that who have changed careers because they want to mitigate all this risk. So it brings a lot of value to the system. Now, the more people come in to secure that same system, now they get crafty and there will be new ways that we need to mitigate all the risks that these people bring into the system. That's just my 1 cent.
Okay, good. So therefore, if I was to follow the arguments of them creating value, it seems to me, because usually in every ecosystem where there are entrepreneurs, the government and indeed most players in that ecosystem are looking for ways in which they can ensure that these entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurial ventures thrive. So if I was to follow your arguments about the value and the benefits that the Yahoo boys are bringing, it means that we should ensure that Yahoo thrives. Because since they are contributing to the economy, we need to be sure that we support them, we promote that, so that at least the economy can create jobs, this cybersecurity, all these things, they can spend money and do that. Is that not a logical step from where you are going? But I'm sure if I ask any of you, even those that have said they are creating value, should we have a system in which we promote, encourage, teach Yahoo boys, and then ensure that they thrive, just so that we can create other jobs? All of you will say no. Will anybody say yes? All of you will say no. And therefore, the value that you seek to create as an entrepreneur must be a value that impacts society positively. All the cybersecurity things that are going, especially in Africa, where we have such needs for technology to do things that will make our life better, surely, instead of seeing how to stop Yahoo boys, I would rather that they are deploying this into coming up with AI, coming up with apps that can help to solve our problems. The jobs will be there. So, we need to balance it. So the point that I'm making is that, as entrepreneurs, entrepreneurship offers it opens new opportunities and possibilities for us to create values, but we should think about it that we must be creating values for ourselves and for the society at large. So when we talk about entrepreneurship leadership, really, it's about a mindset. We've spoken about the uncertainty in this environment. We've spoken about how things are changing. I very much like Legali's description of it as funny, to describe, you know, the changes, the policies on assault, and all those, you know, the other things that, you know, people wrote in the chat. So really, one person, sorry, I missed that. I'm just saying it. I was looking for Legali's comment, and I saw Legally when he said Yahoo boys, no, he said rather they are thieves. I agree with you, they are thieves. Let's call it what it is. So it's really that they are thieves. Okay. So, but anyway, that's an aside. So really, is that when we talk about entrepreneurship leadership, it is really a mindset. And what is that mindset? It's something that focuses ourselves and organizations on turning problems into opportunities that create economic and social value. Anytime anybody talks about value, you will find that increasingly, you know, it will be rare for us to talk about economic value alone. It is always about what is the social value. And of course, we see it. I mean, there are so many social problems in Nigeria and Africa, and I certainly hope that people see the opportunities, because out of those social problems, in fact, one of the social vices that we see is Yahoo. And out of those social problems, apps have been created, cybersecurity. So that's those other things are happening. So really, it's about really how can we focus our minds on turning things into opportunities that create both economic and social value. But you know, to be able to do that, it involves organizing and motivating. In fact, most times, for all of us who have described, you know, when I asked for a description of how the entrepreneurship journey has been so far, and challenging, ignorance, all of those, you know, it's all those things that we see. So sometimes we ourselves, we need to motivate ourselves. So have you ever been in a situation where you have to encourage yourself, because otherwise you just die? When you think about the problem, the challenges, the inability, has any of us ever found ourselves in that situation? Yes, no? You see it. So when we talk about this entrepreneurship leadership, it's really about this mindset that, you know, it involves organizing and motivating not only ourselves, but our teams to achieve a common objective. And how do we achieve this common objective? Is all these things that I'm sure you have been learning since Monday. Innovation, how do you optimize risk? How do you take advantage of opportunities? How do you manage this dynamic organizational environment? All of this. Now, remember about how I spoke about just a few minutes ago, about how being in an uncertain environment requires you a different type of leader. And, you know, somebody talked about the counterintuitiveness of the system to say, you know what, in other places, all this will be working, but by the time you bring it to Nigeria, it's not working. So really, in this place where things don't work, that's traditional, if I dare say, corporate mindset that we had before may not work. The traditional corporate mindset, what we knew when I first started work, of course, entrepreneurship, there were very few people that, you know, I mean, it was not booming the way it is now. Maybe because of the development or lack of development, we have more entrepreneurial ventures, or the lack of opportunities, more entrepreneurial ventures coming up. But many, many years ago, it wasn't like that. It was like, you know what, the traditional corporate mindset, what does it focus on? Systems and processes. So we focus on systems and processes and emphasizes following these ones in an orderly way to minimize risk. And indeed, several of us are, you know, I don't want to say victims, several of us belong to that school. What is it that we do? We just look at it and say, yeah, you know what? Do we have systems in place? Do we have processes in place? And then we now start to measure, are we following them? Aren't we following them? There's nothing wrong with that. But that is the traditional corporate mindset. But then the mindset of entrepreneurial leadership is different. It says it recognizes that this system that we operate in, it is dynamic, it is changing. How do we manage risk in this system that we have? So really, it's really focused on developing ourselves so that we can leverage our potential in creating value for us and for others. That's what it's about. So really, when we talk about entrepreneurship leadership, it's really about wanting to know and develop ourselves in terms of those practices that will help us to be able to, first of all, to generate ideas. Because in this environment, you need ideas, you know, you need ideas. So really, is that first of all, we need to generate those ideas. The second thing is that we need to put those ideas into action. There are several people that I know that are good starters, and I don't know whether any of us is like that, you know? So we know how to, I hope I'm still here. Yes. Oh, good. Thank you. For
Yes.
a minute, yes, for a minute, I lost the large screen, so I thought that I'd been bumped off somehow, you know. So, so I was talking about that mindset. So really, it's about us. So now there are many of us that are good starters. In other words, we come up with the ideas. We're very good at generating ideas. So we're good at starting things, but we may not be good at putting these things into action. Are you, or do you know anybody like that? Anyone? I can't see. Yes. Thank you. Somebody has said that, yes, that they are one, that they are like that, you know? So there, you know, there's just the ways that, yes, they say, I know lots of people like this. Of course, it begins emotionally, maybe, you know, but we're very good at it. Begins like that. But you know, the entrepreneurship leadership is it's not only about us generating these ideas, it's putting them into action. Then it is sitting back and reflecting on the outcomes. This thing that I did, is it working? Isn't it working? But you know, I find that in the hustle and bustle of things, especially when we do business in Nigeria, sometimes we don't pause to reflect. We're just going, oh, I need to survive. I need to survive. We're just going. But that reflection is very important. So that generating of ideas, putting them into action, sitting back, reflecting on outcomes, and when necessary to change things is one of the key. In fact, those are the key characteristics of the entrepreneurship leader, because you must be able to do all of this, not just do one and leave it and then do another one and then no, it's all of those. Now, when we also talk about entrepreneurship leadership, we get into that whole thing, and I hope that maybe in the course of this conversation, you may have had this discussion about, when we talk about leaders, there's one old and worn out argument as to whether leaders are born or they are made. So again, please, I would just like you, just indicate in the chats group, room, are entrepreneurs born or can they be made? You know what I mean by born? You have the skills in you. It comes and, so in fact, I was born with it. I'm a born leader. I'm born, is it, So really, I would like to see your comments in the chats. Somebody says both can be born and made. Okay, they are made, okay? Made, more made than born, okay? Leaders are made. Nobody's a born leader. Born is innate. Of course, made is ability. Well, so that's what I'm wondering. So which is it? So let me call someone that I haven't heard the person's voice. Adaugo, please. Do you want to comment? Adaugo, you say they are made. And then I'll come to Abdulaziz that says they can be born and made. This is it too. Are we sitting on the fence here already? It's really that's what we feel. So Adaugo, please.
Okay, good morning, Ma. Good morning, everyone. I believe they are made because nobody came into the world with anything. We were all given birth with the same thing, but the ability to now develop some skills, is what matters.
Okay, so you believe that they are made. Nobody is born with skills. Okay, Abdulaziz. Sorry, I don't want to mispronounce the first name, so please, or the first name on it. You said that they are both born and made. So I would just like you to speak a bit more.
Okay, my good morning.
Okay, I'm sorry. I hope I'm not sure which is your first name, so pardon me if I called the wrong one.
My first name is Izatullah.
Okay, please.
Yeah, well done, ma. Why I said they are both made and born is because there are some people that they have this inherent skill in them, but to develop it, to make use of it, is kind of difficult because they may not even identify it as something unique. So they need help. I later sent another message later that's okay, that's born entrepreneurs need support to thrive because they may later need help from someone else to like identify that skill as something that you can develop into what will be profitable and what will help the society.
Okay,
That's
good.
my
Good. Well,
yes.
thank you. Thanks both for sharing the point. And then we'll go to your points to say nobody is born with it. Some people are born with natural abilities. It doesn't mean that if you're not born with them, it can be learned. And research has proven that entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship leadership can be learned. Therefore, what we're going to be doing this morning, I'm going to speak about the attributes, is to be learning how we can develop our entrepreneurship leadership skills, sort of similar to what the name Abdulaziz has just described for us, you know. And really, we can look at it like entrepreneurship, like I always tell people, the brain is a muscle. You know, if you want to build muscle in your forearms, what do? You go and start carrying weights and lifting weights in order that you build the muscles. It's the same. You want to make your brain stronger. You want to make your entrepreneurship leadership ability stronger, practice. The way you practice for weightlifting, practice. So to develop your entrepreneurship leadership skills, it is practice, practice, practice. But for you to practice, you need to know what it is that you're practicing. So the first thing is to learn. And then after learning, it is that what you have learned, you must practice. And learning doesn't always mean that you learn in formal environments as we're doing now. Indeed, we have a model that speaks about how people learn. The percentage that people learn, most of all, the most that we learn from is from experience. So all of us that have done business, all those things when you were describing the different terrains, sometimes if we are smart, we learn from our experiences. We learn that, this one worked before. This one didn't work before. Therefore, let me learn to avoid that. Indeed, my father used to say, experience is the best teacher, but all of us don't need to go to that school. We can learn from others. So that's experience, we can learn from it. So that's experience. So 70% of our learning is from experience. 20% we learn from other people. We watch, oh boy, this person started this business like this. Look at the mistake he made. He fell. We can learn from others. And then 10%, only 10% of the learning that we have is what comes from forums such as this, in which we're discussing the formal learning. So really, it is how do you learn? From your experience, from the experience of others, from how you watch others, and then also what you learn from formal learning. However, even that learning is becoming very difficult. Because to learn from experience, it means that you have experienced something before. But as in a dynamic changing environment as we are right now, that experience may be nothing you have seen before. After all, when COVID came, the pandemic, there was no experience to learn from because none of us had experienced that before. And that is one of the challenges of operating in a dynamic and complex environment as we do now. Therefore, we have to see how do we learn? How do we practice when we're walking blind in this environment? But I'm interested. I like that that you dropped in the chat. So please, can you just discuss it a bit more for us so that at least we will understand that that you put. Prince has come up with another one. Everyone is born with leadership greatness. I will call you to describe this. Yeah, Bola, this please, I would like your comments on that before I come to Prince. Where's Bola?
I'm here, ma. Actually, I was with the way you were giving the points. The way you were talking about how entrepreneurship leadership can be learned and how we can strive to establish it in ourselves.
Okay, thank you. Prince Rossi Osemeke, catalyst. You say those leadership things, you say everyone is born with leadership greatness. If everyone was born, that means we will not have followers now. So please, I'm interested in learning your thoughts. If you could say more about this, I would appreciate it.
Okay, good morning, ma. I hope everyone can hear me, ma.
Yes,
you can hear me, ma? Okay, unfortunately, I'm not able to use my camera because I'm in a very rousing mood, so it's not ideal for me right now. Yes, there is this commercial advert I love to listen to a lot. It is of the Guinness that said that every man is born with a drop of greatness. So the Bible also put it in a way that a king's child and heir apparent to a throne will not necessarily, naturally he's born a king, that's leadership role. But until the child is trained and realizes that I am a king, he's like every other subject. So it takes time for that child to get into that kingly role and understand that, oh, I am a king and I have some form of leadership responsibilities. So it's the same thing with everyone. I usually say that leadership is not about positioning. I mean, like I will tell my friends that if I am the best shoe cobbler, if I were to be a shoe cobbler, I'll probably only attend to clients at Ikoyi or big men who want to shine their shoes because, or I am a gatesman. I mean, there are few people be able to afford me. So if I am a chauffeur, I'm going to drive only the airlights, those who understand that driving is a skill and they want somebody who, so it's for me, leadership is all encompassing. It's not just position that I am the MD CEO or I am the president or governor. Even followership is leadership in reverse. Because you need responsible followers to, hold leaders accountable. So if they are irresponsible followers, I mean, leaders will just take everything. So that's from the angle I am bringing in my own argument today.
Thank you. Okay, so you've come at it from a religious perspective. Okay, the reality though is that I think even the holy book that you referenced, I believe that there are followers. That we had kings and then we had followers. I do agree that everybody has talents. And I think that everybody will always say their talent is to uncover. It's like a rough diamond that we need to see. But the truth is that some leaders stand out on account of their abilities, which may have been learned over a period of time, and therefore they engender followership. And I agree with you absolutely. Leadership is not at all about position, because we have people that are in positions of authority. Let's not confuse authority with leadership. You may have that title, but you don't have the leadership because people don't follow you. In organizations, we always have a way of determining who are the informal leaders. So when I want to pass a policy, when I want to pass this, it's true, we can come at it, but when I'm looking for buy-in, I'm looking for the informal leaders who can go to their constituency and say, guys, let's support this thing, let's do that one there. But it's true, there's talent and all of us have to look at it. So thank you for sharing your perspective. So this leadership thing is like a muscle which we can develop with time and practice. But researchers have identified some common attributes of entrepreneurship leadership, and I will discuss it. I think I've already mentioned the first, and I believe that Damilola spoke about it earlier on. He dropped it in the chat. In my own view, not only from what researchers say, but from my own opinion, the most important entrepreneurship leadership quality for me is learning. And it's not just because I'm in the education space. Because you learn, even if we go back to when I was speaking about how people become entrepreneurs, and say for some of them is what they saw in their family. If we go back to those days, how did we learn? Apprenticeship. So your mother had a store selling provisions there. You followed her every day. You observed how she was doing it and you learned. That is learning. It's informal learning, but it is learning. What we try to do is to see how do we formalize that learning. But then that learning should not be limited to us. It makes no sense if we learn and we learn new things and then we're coming back to the team who do not know what we're talking about because they haven't learned. They're not on the same page. In those days, and I'm not making an advert for Lagos Business School, when I used to run Lagos Business School, I used to say, you know what, it's okay for you to come as a CEO, as the owner, manager, and things like that, but bring your team. Because if all of you are hearing the same things, you will make better progress. So you need to think about yourself. How open are you to learning? And when we talk about openness to learning, it's not only that you come to this and you learn the big, big things. There's small things. I learned a lot from reverse mentoring. I'm not a digital native, obviously not at my age. I'm a digital immigrant. I don't know technology. So I have to call my 19-year-old daughter, who's a whiz at technology, come and teach me. In fact, the other day, see insults. She told me that, in fact, she has been teaching me since I don't understand. But you know what? I pocket my ego because I have to understand and we have to learn. So really, learning is not only that you're learning from someone in authority, that you're learning from, a teacher, as we're doing now, that you're learning. It is that really you're learning from others. You're learning from those who may not be in the same social cycle as you. You're learning from observation and you're learning. So that's that openness to learning. It's very important. Entrepreneurial leaders, they want to solve problems collaboratively. Again, it depends on leadership styles. And I don't know whether in the course of this 5 days or 4 days or today's the 5th day, you've had a chance to actually discuss leadership styles. Because some leadership styles are authoritarian. I am the boss. I said it, therefore it must happen. Okay? So we can have that authoritarian leadership style. We can actually have the one that is more collaborative. We can have collegiality. We can have, so all of those are there. So again, the most important trait of anyone who wants to manage, who wants to, set up a new venture, who's working within an organization, wants to hone this skills, is the ability to self-reflect. And therefore, I'm asking, have we reflected? Maybe you should reflect on what kind of leader are you? And if you're an authoritarian leader, because you're the one that set up the business, I had the idea even before you were born. I have been doing this one for the last 10 years. Who are you just coming into it there? Honestly, we're shutting off various sources of learning because of the dynamic worlds that we operate in today, that everything is changing. You may not have experienced everything. Somebody in your team may have experienced it. So you can learn from that person's experience. So the first and the most important thing, in my view, is really this openness to learning. The second thing, and just talking about those, entrepreneurship leadership characteristics, is really trust. I wasn't sure which one to put first as I reflected on this, whether to put learning first or put trust first. It is that for those people that, work on your team, they must trust you. It's only when they trust you that they will follow you. As I'm talking now, it just occurred to me that I could have played a clip, which I will advise you to just check on YouTube. If you just check for, it should be on YouTube, just check for Colin Powell. Colin Powell was the army chief in the US for many years. All the time they went to Iraq, all those times. Colin Powell on leadership. You will see him describe in 3 or 4 minutes trust. And it's the most important quality. As leaders, we can build trust in many ways. The first thing is that for them to trust you, they have to be sure that when they are following you to, you know where you are going. So really, that vision, have you shared it with the people that you work with you? Have you written down that vision? I once had somebody who worked with me, and it was very interesting observing him. He was a very hard worker. He would come to work every day, and he would just be working. He would just come, he would do his work. He didn't take long lunch breaks. He kept to time. He would be at his desk morning till night. Then when it comes time for me to look at how well he has done with his objectives, he would have fallen short on some. So one day I called him, I said, come, how did you work? Are you mindful of your objectives? He was puzzled at the question. So I said, so when you come to work in the morning, you just start working. That work that you are doing, where does it fit into? Where is it taking you to? Where are you going? Please, all of us here that are doing business, do we know where we are going? Or we are just doing business? We're entrepreneurs. We are running business. What is our vision? I dare say from reflection, I told you I was going to also draw on my observations from Peter. I dare say from my observations, he knew where he was going from the beginning. All his moves, even reaching out to me. I tell people, I say, hey, I have a mentee that chose me. I'm not the one, I didn't know him before. He just came. And whether I like it or not, is that whether you like it or not, so you must hear my story. You must tell you, this is where I'm going to. I will tell you my moves. I will welcome your opinion. I will do that. And each time he was very clear about that vision. And I have watched through the years, he's taking steps, incremental steps to take him there. No distraction, despite the uncertainty in the environment. So our vision, is it clear? Somebody has said poverty reduction is very good. You think that poverty reduction is very, very big. How are you going to do it in your particular business by the value that you add? Please break it down. Because if I come to my employees and tell them that we are about poverty reduction, they will look at me and say, what's this madam talking about? But if I say we are about doing this in order to contribute to alleviating poverty, they know where I'm taking them to. The second thing that builds trust is credibility. I started off my career in banking. And then after a few years, I got bored. Several years I had risen up, I got bored. And then I joined the business school. I didn't know how to teach. It was even serendipity. That's another story. But anyway, I found myself in business school. And I was teaching people. This was, you can imagine, that was maybe 27 or 28 years ago. So you can imagine how young I was at the time that I was teaching these chief executives, people who were leading organizations and things like that. And many times, people want to challenge you. Who's this small girl at the time that's teaching us and all of that? And I learned something from one of my mentors. This one was not a self-appointed one like Peter appointed me. This one was that they gave me in my work. When those days, we used to call them mentors. It was that they said, you know what, this person will teach you how to be a faculty member. And the first thing he told me was that, and I said, you see this thing that I was teaching finance. He said, you see this thing there, you must not, I mean, he's a foreigner, so he didn't say it like this. But what I understood was that, you know this thing there, you must know it to the last. He said, so if people won't listen to you on account of your youth, or account of the fact that you are female, or on account of the fact that you are from one part of the country, you see what will stand you out is your competence in that. When people know that you know your onions, your people will follow you. The people in your team, they will follow you. They will follow you. So that competence, as you are learning, you need to be learning not only how I manage people, not only I progress in this difficult, uncertain, this volatile environment, but also that I must know this business. That's where they know that it builds credibility. The second thing that builds trust, of course, is hard work. I always ask people, so you as a CEO, what's your own work? Are you an aggregator? That you're just taking, anyway, it's hard to be that today because, you know, when you first start up business, you are your everything. You are the marketer. You are the one doing your social media. You are the one that's the driver. You are the logistics person. You are everything there. But please maintain something as you go on. Another thing is that you must maintain a constant message. People should be very clear as to where they stand with you. Sometimes culturally, it may be a bit difficult for people to know where they stand with us because we may not be used to, or we may be more used to diplomacy. It's not when you're running your business in these uncertain environments. No time to waste. People should know where they stand. They should know you would have communicated where you're taking them to. And therefore, you should be able to call, and you should not give conflicting messages. Integrity is one of the watchwords of an entrepreneurship leadership. You know, when the book that Prince referred to, the holy book that he referred to, say, let your yes be yes and let your no be no. So people will know that with this one, no, I can trust you. Because the people you do business with, once trust is broken, you can't get your foot through that door any longer. So you need to build trust with all your stakeholders, with all those around you. Build trust within and without. When they trust you, people have given credit based on trust. I come across people, they're importing things from China. I say, in this day and age, how did you get money to use to do it there? They say, you know, I've been doing business. The man first started small, low, but every time he sends something, I pay back. Every time I send something, I pay back. Now they give me this. They've been able to extend credit line. And you know how financing is so important to us here, depending on the business we do, because of trust. So again, we have to build that trust. Another thing that we have to work on is really about effective communication. Whenever we talk about effective communication, people think it's about speaking good English. It's not that so. It's part of it. Is that you need to be able to converse in a language that people can understand, both verbally as well as in writing. But communication and effective communication skills is not a one-way street too. It's not that I'm the one always talking. When I go to the people I want to make my speech, I'm the only one. I don't even sit down to listen to them. I'm just going to sell my service or my products, and I go there, I'm talking. I don't start to listen to them to say, do they have feedback for me? Do they have suggestions that can improve my product or my service? Do they have that? Even with the few people I work with, or many people, depending on the size of your organization, am I encouraging a two-way conversation, or is it a one-way conversation? Because guess what? While you are the leader is able to articulate your ideas and your plan as to how you will move towards your vision and then go there, they may be able to bring suggestions. Secondly, with a two-way communication, you eliminate any confusion. It's just like some of us, for some staff that we have, you know, maybe a driver, you know, when you tell him, I want you to drive here, you have to ask him, please, where did I send it? So that he can repeat it. And so communication is not, if I do one way, I'll be frustrated. So I have to ask, please, did you understand? What is it? That is that two-way communication. You avoid ambiguity, you avoid generalization, you avoid conflict, you avoid misunderstanding, and you can focus on your business of working towards that vision, not trying to solve problems that has been brought about because of inadequate communication. That's very important. And it is critical to successful leadership. I've spoken about vision. Again, you must believe in yourself. One of the key things as I was preparing for this, and I was just drawing up with different research that people had done about entrepreneurship leadership, one common trend that I saw was that the leader has tremendous belief in himself. He believes that I can get there. He's not building pies in the sky. He's looking at those things. He has made a plan. And he believes that if I follow of course, things may happen. We've discussed about how the environment is very different, is uncertain, new things may come up and things like that. But you see, if he has made that plan, if he deviates from that plan, it will not be too much. And therefore, from that, he starts to believe that it's true, I'm going there. But that belief in itself, there's some things that I find it easier to express in my first language, which is Pidgin English, than in English. You know where I come from? There's one advice that we always give. We say, know yourself, not because, no advice. Please, can somebody translate that in the chat? Know yourself, not because, no advice. If anybody can translate it, I would appreciate it. I'm just going to wait. What does it mean? If you can, as I said, I can't, but if you know, please, can you put it in the chat? Tega, you should be able to now to translate this one. Where you come from, Pidgin English is people's first language. I want to see everybody's face. I'm going to remove the spotlights. Nobody knows the meaning of that. Okay, that's assignment for you. When you find it out, then you can use it to advise yourself. Of course, that's a literary thing. But what he's saying is that recognize your strengths, recognize your weaknesses. So when I tell you, know yourself, I'm not saying it's not meant to be an insult or an abuse. Instead, you should take it as an advice to know what are my limits, what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses. Because as a leader, you need that. Because when you are aware of your strengths and weaknesses, you are able to know, how do I counter these weaknesses? You're able to pause when you feel that, you know what, maybe I'm not there. You can play to your strengths. All of these things, it increases your self-belief because you're able to now demonstrate your skill to know that, yes, I know that. It builds your self-assurance because you believe in yourself. You know this. Very good. Mojisola, this is the best one. Different ones, so yes. Self-awareness is a great advice. That is very good. That is exactly the point. Self-development is essential. It's more about the self-awareness, as Mojisola has said. It's a great advice. So that is very important. And entrepreneurship leaders, they know themselves. They know their strengths and their weaknesses. They know who to bring on board. If you are looking to partner with somebody, if two of you are strong in the same aspect, you are not doing your business a service any good. Bring somebody that will complement your weakness. Then people can work together. Partnership is another matter. I'm sure that, in the course of this, you may say so. And then when you have people that work in a team with you, an entrepreneurship leader, he does not hog success. He shares it. Remember that you have told everybody where you are going to. This is the vision. Though. This is what it is that we are going to do. When you succeed, any small win, of course you celebrate it. And when I say celebrate, I'm not saying do a one-day party. You inform people, we were successful in this. You make noise about that, and then you share it, and you say we. I always know about whether when I'm giving somebody my thing I'm doing, the person is saying I. As the person is saying I, maybe to prove to me that they know it very well, I'm thinking, key man risk. This one that is I. It is really that everything that he's going to provide for me, the service, revolves around him. And therefore, if he wins lottery tomorrow, I don't want to say if he dies, if he wins lottery tomorrow, gets run over or goes to Canada, that's it. My business has gone. How do you share the success with those that work with you? You may think that it increases your credibility by saying, I. Your credibility will speak for you as a team and may gather more business. But then if you work with others, entrepreneurship leaders, they create an atmosphere that is conducive to growth because they understand that other people will contribute to our success. Therefore, it must be an atmosphere that people should not be afraid to challenge you. People are open. What is the word? What is the ambience? Not in terms of the decor in your workplace, if you have a workspace, but even if you're working virtually, you don't have a workspace. Do people feel free to come to you with their ideas? Do people feel free to challenge you to say, boss, I don't think this thing is good, though? Or do you broker no arguments? Again, if you are the one that brokers arguments, people don't feel safe to come. It's literally like running a one-man business. The day you fail, you will fail. Everybody will move on. But we hope not, because you are learning from this. And you are learning that, you must create this atmosphere in which people feel safe to share their ideas, in which people feel that they can share their opinion, and that you encourage them. And how do you encourage them? Some you may have shy people working with you. It's not that, but I have an open door and they can come and talk to me. No, do you invite their opinion? Hey, Prince, what do you think about this? Hey, Sheyi, what do you think about this? Do you think we should go this way? Shouldn't we go that way? You are opening your listening, because your perspective may be tunnel view. When you open it to ideas, people say, oh no, I don't share my ideas with people because they will steal it. Trust, build that trust. They will follow you, if not for nothing, but for trust. When you build that trust, they will come, they will share their ideas with you. And then earlier on, I spoke about integrity, especially in this environment. It is a very valued trait. Very valued trait. Don't underestimate that. People can bank on integrity. And by the way, even during my years as banking, I was involved in entrepreneurial ventures. My first business was when I finished school, university, and I was doing youth service. I didn't have a job. And in those days, we made all the clothes that we wore. And there was an opportunity, because people could not either go to the market or say, I used to travel from Lagos, go to Aba, Onitsha, go and buy fabric, come and sell. Sometimes I wanted to buy more than my money could. But because I returned all the time, just like the person bringing container, that integrity, when you say, I am coming back on this day, I will complete, especially for service providers, when you say, I will complete something on that day, and you cannot, integrity means that you call the person and say, I can't deliver on this day, I am coming on this day. You don't need to relate all your internal problems. But when you know that, I know if he says it, I can bank on your word, it goes a long way in business, a very long way in business. Characteristic of that leadership. There's also resilience. The going will get tough. When I ask people to drop in the chats what their views were about the environment, some people said funny, challenging, ignorantly this, all of it. The going is tough. The environment is tough, but we persevere. We simply don't quit. We keep going until we get to that place that we're going to. And then even then, we move that destination and say, yes, we can. So that resilience, you have to develop it. You have to develop that resilience in you. And that resilience doesn't come from giving up easily. It comes from picking yourself up back and back again. I'm sure many of us have read Richard Branson's book. How many times he failed? In fact, the other day I saw one meme on Instagram when they talked about the people that, the big entrepreneurs that we see today. And they looked at how many times they tried and failed. Then they talked about those ones when after 2 failures, we give up and say, please let me go and look for work. Cannot come and keep myself. No. Your resilience is built in that way. So anything that happens, you can throw it. And then you accept responsibility for your action. Everyone makes mistakes. When we take mistakes, don't look for who to blame. You are together now. If you are working together, all of you are together. But instead, anytime you make a mistake and you fail, you go back and you reflect and say, you know what, guys, what can we learn from this? Or for yourself, if you work alone, you go and say, what can I learn from this? I wonder what I missed. What did I see? What didn't I see? What could I have done better? You learn, you gain that experience that you can use to go forward. And then lastly, I think that the best way that we can lead is by doing. You see these things I asking people to do it. When I tell my people I need you to be at work at 8:30, I'm here at 8:30 or before. I tell you I need you to keep time, I'm there at 10 o'clock. I tell you I need to work hard, I do it. That's the best thing. When you do that, people will follow. People will follow. That leading by doing very, Okonedo guy, I just agree with everything. I like that. Thank you for the encouragement. I appreciate that, but it's true. Is that we have to do things. Okay, good. Okay, so basically, keep in mind that as entrepreneurs, you're taking risk. Make sure that the risks that you're taking are calculated risks. How do you know that? Is that you say, what is the worst that can happen? And can I live with it? If the worst that can happen is that you lose everything, including the shirt on your back, calculate it to how are you going to do that? But to have any chance at success, you must take risk. Sometimes you must be willing to put everything on the line. Pray, take a leap of faith, walk towards it, go towards it. But as you're taking those calculated risks and based on your understanding of these changing markets in which we operate, be mindful of these few nuggets that I've shared with you. As all of you are here learning, I didn't think that I needed to emphasize the point about having a growth mindset, because the growth mindset stems from, the whole discussion we had just a few minutes ago about whether entrepreneurs are born or they're made. The growth mindset means that I can learn these things. The fixed mindset means that, no, you know what, the abilities I have are innate. It was either I was born with it or I wasn't born. But because all of you are here, I know you have a growth mindset. So keep up with that growth mindset. Keep on learning. Keep on building trust in people. Keep on being true to your word. And that way, you will really become the leader that you aspire to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma. Thank you, ma.
You guys,
thank you,
please
ma.
unmute yourselves. Let's show Professor Enase, some good.
Thank you, ma.
Thank you
so much,
ma.
Thank you, ma.
Wow.
Thank you, ma.
Please, in case you guys don't know, Lagos Business School, the minimum amount to pay in Lagos Business School is like 3 million. To learn what we just got for free this morning. Thank you so much, man.
Sir, what did you say, sir? What did you say, sir?
Thank you, man. Thank you, man. I said the minimum you will learn, you will pay. If you want to go and learn from the Lagos Business School, like your minimum, BRS minimum, is about 3 million naira. BRS minimum. And today, we have gotten this without paying a dime. Thank you, man. Thank you.
And by the way, let me just comment on that point. And the reason I have come and spent this morning with you, and I've quite enjoyed the interaction very well, is because of Peter. Because I see someone that is working steadily, determined in the face of all odds. He's building relationships. And therefore, we should learn from those. Trust. He's building relationships. He's building trust, integrity. Don't disappoint me, Peter, after I finish praising you like this as you go forward, But then that's the way. And we can take a leap from that because you will enjoy the goodwill of the people, the various people you partner with. I just thought I would drop that. Thanks, Peter. Over to you.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you for the honor. Thank you for, everything. Thank you, man. Genuinely, thank you. And of course, thank you for all that was shared this morning. For some reason, I don't know, today being the last day, my network, my power system, everything. So I literally had to dash out of the house to come look for alternative. So please, there's some noise in my background. Kindly pardon it. Thank you, ma. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, one cannot say that enough. Ma, please, we are coming with more invitations. That's for sure. Both virtual and in person, for sure. We are coming. Abi, can we confirm that, people? Please unmute yourself. We are definitely coming, with more and more and more.
Yes, Mama, we are coming for you, Ma. More and
yes,
more.
Ma, come with more invitation.
Yes, so but thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, we are, this is not something we take for granted. Your time is a very limited commodity. It's not something that everybody can say that, oh, I want to go and see Prof. Enase, I want to go and see Prof. Nah, it is not. And for this, we are grateful. Thank you, man. Genuinely. Thank you so much, man. So for sure, I'm going to reach out. Once after our session, I'll reach out to you, man.
That's fine. Thank you. So may I, given that you know the challenges of my time, please, if you would excuse me, I would truly appreciate it. Sure, it's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed the engagement with everyone. I like the fact that it was interactive. We had all the answers.
Thank you, ma. Thank you, ma.
And good luck.
Thank you, ma. Thank you, ma. Yes, ma. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you, ma. Oof. All right, guys. That was Professor Enase Okonedo, the vice-chancellor of the Pan-Atlantic. I mean, aren't we blessed? Aren't we blessed, to have someone like that come to us? Again, guys, please pardon, there's some noise at my background.